All right, it's 5:30 on April 17th, Monday, April 17th. We'll call the Mandan Public School District meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none from administration, anybody else have any changes? If not, could I get a motion to accept the agenda? So moved. We have a motion by Mr. Hawken. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Ms. Beal. Any discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Silva, please call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is public communication. Is there anybody that would like to address the board? Is there anybody that would like to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on then to the administrator's report. The first item on the administrator's report is the Mandan High School Dual Credit Advanced Placement Update from Mr. Mark Andreessen. Welcome, Mark.
Good evening, Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
school board members. Great to see you guys. Dr. Bitts recently asked me to kind of give you a little update on where we're at with our dual credit and our AP, which is advanced placement courses at Mandan High School. So what I put together for you, it's in the packet. You'll see kind of a history of both dual credit as well as the AP program at Mandan High School. So as I look at the history of the dual credit side of things, dual credit for Mandan High School has been in place for about 20 years, probably a little bit more than that. Started off in the business side of things for a few years by Mr. Wilson many years ago. Over the last 5 to 10 years, Mandan High School has actually continued working with some changes and actually tried to expand that program for several years. There were changes a few years ago in the Higher Learning Commission through BSC and through the collegiate side of things that kind of slowed our growth for a few years. Since that time, with our partnerships and things, we've actually been able to overcome and actually add quite a few classes. You'll see on the next slide, you'll see currently at Mandan High School, we've got 17 courses that we actually offer students at Mandan High School, anywhere from a lot of math classes to some English classes and speech, business classes, foreign language, which is on the Latin side, a lot of math classes, science, and new this year is we are going to be adding some drawing, some painting and ceramics in the Art 4 class and Art 4 programs. So we continue to look for ways to expand on that program. By the time we get to the new school, the hope and the intentions are we actually move into the English side of things a little bit more so they can actually get their freshman English as well as their sophomore English classes right on Mandan High School campus. This is kind of the hopes that we've got and kind of the planning ahead in our programs there. Any questions, I guess, on the dual credit side before I jump into the history of the advanced placement side of things? No questions? Okay. Kind of the history of the advanced placement or the AP side of things. AP has been a part of Mandan High School campus actually a little bit longer. Since the 1990s is when AP actually came into play. I can remember being hired in the science department back in 1995. It kind of started about 1997 when I was actually asked to go to an AP conference in Minneapolis when I was teaching biology and physics. In the program, Mr. Ekstrom at the time was our principal at the time. He was pushing AP pretty hard to get things started. From there, we actually began an AP program, mainly in our English program, as well as our history side of things. Since that time, AP has kind of stuck around, kind of gone away, stuck around, kind of gone away. It really had a resurgence when we actually had the Higher Learning Commission make those changes at the collegiate level, which caused us to actually get pushed back a little bit. The response from the Department of Public Instruction, Ms. Baszler actually at the time kind of pushed the NIMSI program, if you've heard of the National Math and Science Institute. That was a big push several years ago when we had the issues with the Higher Learning Commission, so we wanted our kids to be able to get collegiate credit as well. So the AP side actually came in the National Math and Science Institute, so we were actually able to get a lot of our math and science classes back into the dual credit side of things through the AP program. AP is a little bit different than dual credit. Dual credit, kids like, it's a sure thing if you want to call it that as they go through the program. AP, they study the whole year, take classes for the full year, and then in the end of the year, usually the last week of April, first week of May, they actually go through and they actually take the advanced placement exams. So depending on their score, whether they score a 3, 4, or 5 on those exams, is dependent upon what they're going to get as far as college credit. If they don't score a 3, 4, or 5, or a 4 or a 5, depending on what institute that they actually plan to actually transfer those college credits to, is whether it determines whether or not how many credits and whether they will receive college credit. That's why a lot of the kids have actually really wanted to take a look at the dual credit side a little bit more, because you're paying more up front. The AP test is about anywhere from $35 to $50 an exam, where you can actually get that if you can pass the test. Then it is cheaper on that side of things. However, the dual credit side is a little bit cheaper because it's a guaranteed credit. So it's a horse apiece. It's kind of what you decide to weigh between those. Our programs at Mandan High School, as far as the AP side, currently we've got English literature and comp. We've got language and composition. We also have computer science, biology, chemistry, and U.S. history have all moved into the dual credit side. We do have several students that are homeschool students that do come in and actually do take AP exams at the high school. So we offer that service as well as a testing environment for a lot of our homeschool kids as well, and we continue to do that. Just an idea, the next slides kind of show you a number of the dual credit side versus AP courses. Back 3 years ago, we had 280 kids taking the dual credit side, or 280 courses being taken, 198 AP courses. That kind of dropped a little bit with the COVID. Well, we didn't have our recruiting that spring of the year, which kind of hurt us a little bit. So it dropped down to 222 and 132. However, since that time, if you notice this year, we've got 517 courses being taken in dual credit this year with all of our additions, and then 315 courses being taken currently as far as our AP side of things. Bottom line, many people ask, why are we pushing the AP? Why are we trying to get kids through college? It really is an option for kids, and it comes down to families, and it really is about the cost for kids and an opportunity to actually get a college credit at the high school level. So when you look at the total savings and reduction in tuition and everything else, 70% reduction in tuition is what BSC does offer by us teaching right on campus at Mandan High School. So initial savings, from $173, $174 a credit, it drops it down to $89 to $90 a credit. So it may not seem a lot when you're looking at, the $55 to $65, $70,000 area for the school. However, I can tell you personally, as a parent that's actually had 3 boys that have taken dual credit, it's a huge savings. And the reason you have the savings is because you can shorten the number of years that they actually go to a collegiate institution, which, take my oldest son as an example, went to the University of Nebraska, saved him a whole year of college because of that, which was, in his engineering program, was a $44,000 bill. So in an investment of about $2,500. So you guys can do the math. So for the right families, it's a great opportunity, and we continue to find ways to expand that opportunity for our kids. So, questions?
Questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, Mr. Andreessen. I, too, am a huge fan of dual credit. I have a son who got done early and a couple coming up that are going to come in and have a lot of their freshman year completed, which I'm happy about. But I had 2 questions. So there's always some confusion about dual credit and AP. And is it true, or help me understand, so dual credit, as you said, it's guaranteed, you're paying college tuition basically to get it, but is AP accepted more out of state? Because you referenced your son, and I'm curious about that understanding. If sometimes dual credit doesn't, they won't take it in colleges outside of North Dakota sometimes. That's what I've heard.
Okay. So my best answer for that is going to depend on the college or the institution that you're actually going to transfer credits to. If they're part of the NDUS system or the university system, they take all of our credits are NDUS certified through that are offered through BSC and or through other institutions that we actually have. Some of your courses that may go through a private institution may not transfer, depending on the major. Some may transfer into your elective side of things, and so while some actually will take them all. I can tell you that every college is different. I can tell you locally, I had 2 boys go to the University of Mary. It was very different on how the University of Mary accepted their graduate credits from our school here at Mandan versus the University of Nebraska. So it depends again on the institution. So the AP side, what I would tell you on the AP side is you see a lot more AP on the eastern coast of the United States and really on the western coast as well. So if you are actually heading to those coasts, the big challenge with the AP side is a lot of the coasts and the larger universities will only take a 4 or a 5 in their field. They won't take the 3. Where our local colleges, junior colleges and things may take the 3 as well, 3, 4, or 5.
Okay,
So it varies depending on where you go.
okay, thank you
Yep.
for that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I had one more question.
Go ahead. Fire away. Continue.
The big jump, I mean, it more than doubled, and I know we had the weird COVID year in between, but is it just more widespread, more accepted? Do you think they're doing more PR across the state, or what's the explanation for that?
Well, I would tell you it's a combination of a few things. Some of it's the PR side of things. You always have that fluctuation in depending on the academic proneness of the class. So every class is different, and every group of students is different. I can tell you the other big piece, however, was the fact that we've added a lot more classes. We moved away in the chemistry side, the biology side. We moved all those to dual credit, which is a lot more enticing. So dual credit actually starts at the sophomore year now, where in the past it did start in the sophomore year, but it started in the spring of the sophomore year. Now it's the full year with the dual credit in the biology side, adding chemistry, adding more math classes that we do have now. We've got 5 math classes that are actually put in. So as we continue to actually add more, we get more students.
Thank you.
So that helps get them on their way.
Right. And I'm like you, Mr. Andreessen. My daughter took a lot of dual credit, 3 years at NDSU. So she saved a whole year too. So, I mean, students that are out there can actually save a whole lot of money in relation to that. So in 6 years, she'll have her law degrees. And this fall or the spring, she'll graduate. So, I mean, it saves a lot of people a lot of time and money, and they can get places a lot quicker. And you think about it, you add on one more year in their life of earnings, adds up, instead of paying it on the bills plus another year of earnings. I mean, it's not a bad thing at all for a student that's out there and wants to do that.
Right.
I did have a question, on the CTE side of things, coming up with that. And I know there's some programs through BSC around the certificates. Does any of this tie into that at all or not? With BSC looking to put some certificates in, and maybe you're not the right one to answer that question, but I'm just curious about it.
I can tell you that we look to explore all options for kids.
Okay.
So, for example, you'll saw the Wahpeton, North Dakota State School of Science.
Yeah, I did. I saw that one.
That was an opportunity for kids that actually have welding. And so if they've gone through the whole welding, the intro to welding, welding 1, which is a block class, and welding 2, depending on the certifications that they actually do have, they can actually get college credit for that. So we continue to look for ways that we can expand those opportunities for kids when they are relevant and when universities actually do allow or different post-secondary institutions actually do allow those opportunities.
All right.
So
Mr.
that's-
Bachman, was there anything you wanted to add to that? You were shaking your head for a second there, so I wasn't sure. And I know you've been involved with the CTE stuff. That's why.
Well, I just was going to add that Mr. Andreessen, we had talked this probably over a year ago with representatives from BSC about their stack credentials and how we can use this coursework to build into their stack credentials, because that's kind of what they've been with the Polytechnic side, is how can we build those classes earlier, then take components of different programs, stack them together, and get your 2-year degree in a little bit more quickly. We just got to continue those conversations, but it has been part of our conversations.
And I call them certificates, and you're actually talking them something a little different. So, all right, go ahead.
And then one other thing to add, one of the reasons that I think you need to be aware, we do have criteria at Mandan High School. You have to have a 3.0 to actually get into the dual credit side of things. A lot of schools actually don't have that criteria. We put that in place because we wanted to see success from our students. And I can tell you about probably about 99% of our students that enter the dual credit AP side are successful and actually do get college credit on the dual credit side especially
That's great.
because of those criteria.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you to Mr. Andreessen for supporting the dual credit, and that this program is, a lot of it is because of you, of how you support it and believe in it, and it has benefited a lot of students.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful program.
All right, anything else? I guess one other question for you, Mr. Andreessen, hasn't anything to do with this, but how happy are you to see all that walls going up at the high school?
Could we be done like moving fall of 23?
I don't know, we'll find out in the next agenda item here where we're at.
No, we at Mandan High School are very, very excited to see all the progress that's going on. I know there's still a lot of work to do. We're excited for sometime in the fall. Hopefully it's in August of 24.
Yeah.
We're excited to start packing boxes in a year from now and make that move into setting up a new culture and bringing back to a lot of our kids in our community, which is well deserved.
Yep.
After being in Mandan High School for the last 28 years, and many graduating classes before that, starting way back in 1954 in the existing building. So we're really excited.
Yep.
And hopefully the community is as well.
And I tell you, I drive by every day, or just about every day, because I live up that way, and it's great to see when the walls go up, because it sure looks different every time you go by, so.
Thank
Glad
you
to
guys
see
for all your support.
Yep, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item, Lakewood Elementary and High School construction update. Mr. Legacy?
Yeah, that was a good lead-in, and I'll wait to answer Mr. Andreessen's question about the fall of 23 till later. I'm going to start with the Lakewood update for you. If you've driven by lately, you'll notice that the site is a muddy mess. Our exterior work, we're probably behind schedule on the outside of getting the site graded and the site planted and getting some grass seed down. We need to get moving on that, but we need the site to dry out first. Inside the building, though, I don't have any concerns at all. If you go down the classroom wings, you'll see the classrooms are fully painted. We're waiting for finished products right now. As soon as our casework shows up, that'll get installed, followed by the flooring and the ceiling tile. We really have 3 months left to finish the project, and I have no concerns inside. It's looking good. Our contractors are doing a great job.
So that's good to hear.
On the high
Any
school,
questions on the grade
Oh,
school
yeah.
before we go on? Okay, go ahead.
On the high school, again, the site is a muddy mess. This winter has been really, really challenging for Northwest and our subs. Met with Northwest a couple of times over the last few weeks. Just going to say it, they're worried. The winter has put them behind schedule probably about 6 weeks, to be honest. Right now, though, they're working on the schedule and trying to find ways to make up that time. Everybody's working diligently on that right now. But if you've been by recently, you'll notice that precast trucks have started to show up again as of Friday. They had to take a pause because the site wouldn't allow trucks to get in there. So if we get some dry conditions, our precast panels are at the plant in Albany, Minnesota, and we're just waiting for them to get trucked out here. So that's what we're going to see next is around those 2 educational wings. You'll see those precast panels going up in that area become enclosed. And then what they're going to do is they're going to move into the central part of the building, set steel, and work on precast around there as well. So right now it feels like we have a little lull, but it's going to get really busy at the high school really quick with a lot of people out there. We would like to have a board meeting on site, one of our May meetings, I think the 1st or the 15th. If conditions allow and it's dry enough, we'd really like to get out there and walk around with Northwest and Icon again. So.
Okay, so keep that on your radar. One of the next 2
Yep.
meetings, we'll try to be out there in regard to it.
Yep.
All right, any other updates?
I don't, unless you have any questions.
No, any questions on the high school? All right, we'll move on then to the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have review and approve previous board minutes from April 3rd, 2023. Review and approve March 2023 revenue report, and I guess we'll come back. And review and approve March 2023 expense report, and review and approve March 2023 bills. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. Horn has made the motion to accept the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Peter seconds it. Ms. Oval, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, this is what happens when you mark off the list before you get there and read it. We'll go back to the administrator's report and have the legislative updates. Dr. Bitts?
Correct. I have a handout in front of you, and I think 5 bills on there that I'll try to update you on. Senate Bill 2284 is the big school funding bill. It is through the Senate. It is in the House, and I don't believe it's out of committee on the House, or I believe it's out of committee on the House and will be heading to the House floor soon. Right now, the way they have it in the is 3.5% increase the first year, 3% increase the second year, and it does include free lunch for any students 200% and below the federal poverty level. This will end up in conference committee with the Senate. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Spoke to a few legislators. They'd say they'd like to see us get another 0.5%, see if they can get one of the years up to 4%. I'm not sure how that's going to play out, but hopefully by the end of next week we'll have a pretty good idea where that is. House Bill 1019, it passed the House, it passed the Senate, but they passed different version. That's in conference committee. That's funding for new and expanding CTE programs. It also includes an inflation adjustment for the CTE grants. Again, we'll have to see how that plays out after conference committee. House Bill 1532, that's the school voucher bill. It sets $10 million aside for private school vouchers. It will pay up to 30% of the cost of tuition for families that are under 500% of the federal poverty level. That's a family of 4 making $150,000 or less, or approximately that. That passed both House and the Senate, and it is on the governor's desk waiting for him to sign that. Senate Bill 2260, I'm having trouble getting good information. Everybody calls me and tells me that these amendments passed, it's out of committee, but when I go to the website, I don't see any of that information on there, so I don't know. There's a lag in there. This is the Parents' Bill of Rights, which sounds like, why wouldn't you support a Parents' Bill of Rights? But there are some problem areas in this. It has that the syllabus has to be out 7 days before the session or before the semester starts. There can be no changes to the syllabus, and if there is, you have to notify parents and get a permission slip back. It's just going to be real burdensome on teachers. It's hard enough to get one permission slip back, and every time you make a change or you have a new guest speaker or show a video that you didn't have on the syllabus, you need to notify parents. I'm hoping this fails. I'm not sure what the amendments are. Then there's also criminal prosecution where parents can take you to court and sue for damages. And I think our parents. I was in 2 parent meetings today where parents were frustrated, and we always try to sit down with parents and work out, find common ground and work out a solution. And both the meetings I was in today, we were able to do that, and I think we do that very well. I just don't think this bill is necessary, and I hope it gets defeated, but we'll see. You know, one of the other frustrations I have, and I'm sorry, you shouldn't give me a mic sometimes, is the Parents' Bill of Rights applies to public schools who take public dollars, but the private schools who are taking public dollars, this won't apply to them. They don't have to open up their school board meetings. They don't have to they don't have to meet with parents. And I just think that's wrong, but okay, sorry. And last bill, House Bill 1158. This is the property tax relief and income tax relief bill. This will definitely be heading to conference committee as well. They were talking about a property tax buy down. I think it originally started at 30 mills, and I'm hearing anywhere from 10 to 15, possibly 20. I'm not sure where that's going to end up. They talked about a flat tax. I've heard that there could be 1 or 2 or possibly even 3 different levels of income tax or brackets, I guess, and I'm not sure how that's going to play out. It is important to us as we get into our school funding formula. We're required to levy 60 mills right now on our local property tax. That's our local contribution. Hopefully that's going to drop. I hear it could be 40 mills. I hear it could be 45. I'd like to get some tax relief to our property tax owners.
However, Dr. Bitts, that change has no effect to the amount of income we will get in as a school board because, right, I mean, just make sure I got that right, because what'll end up happening is what we collect from mills will go down, we'll get from the state will be higher, but the total dollar amount doesn't change according to the funding formula,
Correct.
right?
It's no new dollars for the school, but instead of it coming from our local property taxpayers, it would come from the state.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on the same page with that. Anything else?
That's all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions?
I have a
Ms.
question.
Beal, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Bitts, I just wanted to note on 2260, I think it's important to note that parents at any time can see and talk about and engage in our curriculum, and that it is not uncommon where parents will ask for a child to read a different book or do different things. So I just think it's really important to note that we are very transparent and that much of what is being asked for already exists. And that
Thank you,
is
Ms. Peel.
one of the reasons that it is troublesome from an educational perspective is that it's something that's already occurring and it occurs gladly and freely and there's good communication. It's not a situation where we're in opposition with parents, we're working with them. And I think that's so important.
Thank you for that, Ms. Peel. You are 100% correct. It is seamless. When a parent has an objection to something we're teaching, we find this, almost always find a way to substitute something else for that. So, yes.
Yeah, this seems to be a bill with some unintended consequences. All right, anybody else have questions? If not, now we'll maybe move on this time. Sorry about that. We'll move to unfinished business. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. The first item on new business, review and consider approval of the following 23-24 teaching contracts. Taylor Mendez Eastridge, ID at Mandan Middle School, Maiden Zachmeyer, LD at Fort Lincoln, Richard Zander, Math at the high school. Dr. Foshnot?
We're just recommending all three. I will point out to you that we've been working all year to fill for Miss Williams at the middle school. The first one on your list today is filling that position.
That's great. But she's going to finish out, right?
Yes, sir.
Because this is for next year. Okay.
Yes.
All right, any other questions? If not, what are the wishes of the board? All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Uvestall. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Ovo, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is review and consider approval of the following 23-24 administrative contracts. That's with Lisa Clabunde, Assistant Principal 2 at the Mandan Middle School. Dr. Foshnot.
And if you recall, Mr. Langang has been transferring across the district to Fort Lincoln. We hired or moved Amanda Tomlinson to his position. That's vacated her position. Mr. Gilbertson has moved up to AP1. This is filling his position, so he's not going anywhere. He's just in a different role. And again, we are recommending Ms. Clabunde. She's coming from out of district, is a Mandan student or Mandan kid, kind of come back home, which is great. But for the question I was asked earlier, we had a pretty large pool when we interviewed for the principal position. We use that same pool to fill this AP position.
All right, good. Any questions? Not, what are the wishes of the board?
I'd move to accept this position, this contract.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Peters. We have a second? We have a second by Ms. Ferris. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Bova, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes, and like to say welcome to these four individuals to the Mandan family. Look forward to having you come this fall. Next item on the agenda is review and consider approval of the following letter of resignation from Julia Peterson. Mr. Foshnot? Dr. Foshnot?
Again, we're recommending that you accept this one. Obviously, she could sign or not sign a contract. I think her intent is to further her educational career somewhere else. I believe Ms. Peterson's worked with us for 2 years, but we would offer to accept this.
All right. It's always nice when they give us a little heads up so we know. What are the wishes of the board?
I would move to accept her letter of resignation.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Peters. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second from Mr. Hagen. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Ovo, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the motion passes, and we'll move on. Ms. Peterson, thank you for your services to Mandan, and we wish you well in your future endeavors. We'll move on to the next item, review and consider a motion to approve polling site for the June 13th, 2023 Mandan School Board election. Mr. Legacy?
Yeah, just a quick update. The filing deadline was last Monday for vacancies for the board. We had just the 3 incumbents file for election. It's Mr. Haugen, Ms. Peel, and Ms. Huvestal have all filed to run again. There are only 3 candidates. And traditionally, when the school district holds its own election, we have the polling site as the Brave Center from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. That would be my recommendation again this year.
All right. his recommendation is to have this at the Mandan Brave Center. What are the wishes of the board?
I'd move to approve for it being at the Brave Center.
Okay, for the polling site, we have a
Yes.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Horn seconds it. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Ova, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Moving on, the next item, review and consider approval of an open enrollment agreement seeking a deadline waiver.
Correct. And
Dr.
in front
Bitts.
of, correct. In front of you, you should have an open enrollment application. This is a Mandan student whose family moved out of the district, and they would like to continue their education in Mandan, and it'd be our recommendation that you approve this application.
All right, we have a motion, or we have an open enrollment in front of us. What are the wishes of the board?
I would move to approve.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Hagen. Do we have a second? We have a second from Ms. Ferris. Any further discussions? Seeing none. Ms. Ova, please call roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is consider a motion to move an executive session to discuss negotiation strategy. And nowadays, we got a form for, I got to read it, so we'll go through a whole big, long process. Next item on the agenda is negotiation strategy. This item may be discussed in executive session. The legal authority for closing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code 44-04-19.19. The topic or purpose of this executive session is negotiation strategy. The executive session will be recorded, and all members of the board are reminded to limit their discussion during the executive session to the announced topic. Any collective decision, collective commitment, or other final action by the board must occur after it reconvenes. It's an open meeting unless final action is specifically required by law to be taken during executive session. The prohibition on taking final action during the executive session may not apply to providing guidance, does not apply to providing guidance or instruction to our attorney or negotiators. For this meeting, at this time, a motion would be in order to discuss the next topic in executive session rather than open meeting. Is there a motion?
I'll move to go to executive session.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Ms. Silva, please call roll.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we will, as a board, retreat back to the room behind us back here, and we'll have our anticipated board meeting. We think it'll take about 30 minutes. And once we come back in, we will either act on it or gavel out. While this is negotiating strategy, so we'll probably gavel out at that point in time. All right, thanks, everybody.